Alright guys, I am back with my review of this week's episode of MTV's The Challenge Battle of the Seasons, Episode 9. And there was some good stuff on this week's show, but I kind of expected more. It just ended up being an average episode, and I thought they were showing all these fights and all this drama and stuff, but it was really just an average episode. A lot of Dustin on this episode. And this guy, I can't remember the actor's name, but he reminds me a lot of that guy who played in The New Guy and Road Trip, and he just reminds that skinny guy, and he just reminds me a lot of him for some reason. I don't know why. But the thing about this episode was, up until this point, Dustin has always been kind of the quiet guy, doesn't really want a lot of drama, he's really nice to everyone, and here he just exploded or something. Like, he was fighting with multiple people. And by the end of the episode, he was acting really creepy and just kind of unstable, if you know what I mean. But Trishelle in this episode jumps into the whole Big Easy category, along with Jonah, Alton, and now she's in there with them. So she just refused to go into the challenge. I don't know. She was being pretty annoying. But it starts off with this game where they have to dive under the water and get these buoys, bring them back up, and then start this lifeboat and then paddle to shore. So another game where teams with only two are at a huge disadvantage, and that's exactly what happens here. St. Thomas comes in last. Vegas just barely beats him because Trishelle can't go under the water for some reason. She just taps out, she quits, and she can't do it. So Dustin, this is where he starts to crack. And he cannot take the fact that Trishelle could not do this challenge. He was bitching about it the entire time. And San Diego comes in first. They become the power team. And they were actually getting along. They were talking, they were communicating. And I would say San Diego's probably the strongest team in the house. When they're working together, they come in first place. I guess you could say Brooklyn's also a really strong team, but San Diego's been into the eliminations. They've come back every time. And now they seem to be working together. So I definitely think it's going to come down to San Diego and Brooklyn. But you never know with these games. So San Diego decides they're going to send Vegas in. And it's going to be the endurance game. Then a ton of fights break out in the house. Derek and Nani, I can't ever remember how to say her name. Derek and Nani, Frank and Dustin, Marie and Sam, of all people. It's just alcohol. I mean, that's what it has to be. These people are drinking, and they just go ballistic. They start fighting with each other. Sam gets pushed down. She's trying to fight Marie. Marie has this huge problem with Sam. She wants to kick her ass for no reason, really. I mean, she pushed Sam down. So it was all over the place. Dustin, I really thought, was about to punch Frank. And it kind of made it look like he was in the previews, but he doesn't, so nobody gets sent home over this. But it was just a bunch of yelling and fighting. So Trishelle decides she doesn't want to go into the elimination. And that was their agreement, was that Dustin and Nani went in last time, so this time it'll be Alton and Trishelle. And I do have to say, Trishelle has a good reason for this, and that's the fact that Alton did say he would throw the game if he went in. But that was before. He's acting like a different person now. But you still have to say, is he going to change? I mean, if it was you and you had all this money on the line, would you trust going in there with him? So I can kind of see your point, but it's for the team. And the other two went in. And it's only fair that you two go in. And you just have to talk to him and trust him. And if you think his head's in the game, good. But if it's not, then you have to try to get his head into the game. You really can't stab your other team members in the back just because of what Alton said in the past. So Dustin's still going off about her performance in the challenge. And Rob and Marie are chosen because, obviously, they're the only people on their team to go against Alton and Nani. Trishelle doesn't vote herself in. And instead of letting San Diego choose, Nani just steps up and volunteers. She's like, screw it. And she had a really good attitude about it. She didn't get pissed. She seemed happy about the whole thing. And I was pretty impressed by that. So, endurance is that game where they have to hit the balls back and forth. And it actually is a pretty close game. But in the third round, Rob and Marie win by 1 ball. So Alton and Nany are sent home, and now Dustin is furious because he really liked Alton, he really liked Nany, and he didn't want to see these players go home just because Trishelle wouldn't send herself in. And now he's stuck there. Half his team is gone, and he's stuck there with Trishelle. So he is losing it now. He's already been pissed off at her all day, and then for her to do this and the other people have to go home because of her decision is just too much for him. So they get back to the house, and Trishelle is talking to the other cast members, and he walks in and says that he's done. He's not going to work with her. He'd rather go home. And that's how the episode ends. We don't know if he really does go home. I don't think he does because it shows a preview of next week's episode, and it looked like there were some people with red shirts on, which is Vegas. So I don't think he does. They're just trying to do this for drama and to get people to tune in. But I'm sure there is going to be drama between Trishelle and Dustin unless she comes to him and says, look, I'm really sorry, and they try to work together. But yeah, he was kind of out there by the end of this week's episode. But yeah, it had some good stuff here. I just kind of expected a little bit more this week. But anyways, that's my review of this week's show. Hope you guys liked the video. Leave your thoughts on this week's episode in the comments, and thanks for watching. Bye.